Today's conversation is for the person who wants more. So, more clarity, more confidence, more progress, but they feel like they're pushing uphill every step of the way. My guest today has spent over 2 decades helping people stop spinning their wheels and actually move forward. We talk about the mindset shift that changed everything for her, habits most people underestimate but shouldn't, and questions you need to ask yourself if you're serious about changing your life or your business. I'm joined by Annette Pieper. She is known as the Badass Business Chick, and she's a business transformation mentor, coach, author, and founder of Vision to Reality Training. So, if you've ever felt or ever thought, I know I'm capable of more, if you've ever felt really strongly that there's more out there for you, but you don't know what needs to change first, this conversation is for you. I'm super excited to have Annette on today. Let me grab her bio really fast. Let's see if we can get that to it. Okay, so Annette Marie is known as the Badass Business Chick and is a business transformation expert, mentor, coach, author, trainer, and speaker. She is president of the high impact success training firm Vision to Reality Training. For over 25 years, Annette has been coaching, consulting, and training her expertise and is author of the upcoming book, Conquer Success Mountain Like a Badass, and a co-author of the best-selling book, Step Into Your Vision. She has helped thousands of people across the globe through her powerful coaching programs. Her powerful training programs and down-to-earth coaching and speaking style propel those who experience her work into peak performance, high achievement, freedom, and greater life satisfaction. Gosh, I love that. I'm all about life satisfaction. Um, she is a single mother of two grown sons and lives in Utah, where she is also a caregiver to an elderly parent. Annette loves giving back to her community through nonprofit work and has sat on many nonprofit boards. She loves traveling, camping, hiking, paddleboarding, pickleball, music, and concerts. Welcome, Annette.
Thank you. I didn't realize how long that was. It looks short, but
Well, I've been starting to tell people 2 paragraphs, which this is one of the shorter ones that I've gotten, because like some of them I'm a wordy person, and some of the, I'm like when I give my bio to people, I'm like it's weird to hear it read on, on air, and the person who's reading it, like the one that I sent was like 4 paragraphs once, and I just felt so bad. I was like, I am so sorry. Okay, I'm gonna shorten it, and so for my own podcast, I was like, just the 2 paragraphs is great. So no, that worked. It was great.
very cool.
Anyway, welcome to the podcast. Could you go ahead and just tell us a bit about your business, how and why you started it?
Well, I started it through my own healing work. I was going through a lot of life challenges, and so just getting my own help, I decided that's the way I wanted to go. I'd been working in the semiconductor industry for over 20 years,
Wow.
and I was like, you know what? I want to help other people. I don't want to go to school, get a degree in electronics so I can continue moving through the requirements to move up in that field. And so, yeah, so that's what got me started. This is my second business. My first was called Sacred Balance Lifestyle and Fitness Coaching. And so I did more life coaching, energy work, um, fitness training, nutrition, weight loss. And then I ended up taking a job with a company doing business coaching for a New York Times bestselling author. And after doing business coaching for 3 years, I could just see that was a good transition for me. So I shut down my previous business and started Vision to Reality Training, which just isn't all about business, but it is about helping business owners and business professionals through the things that hold them back, whether that's marketing and sales or whether that's mindset, self sabotage, all those things that can get in our way of any success that we want in life.
Right, yeah. And I love like you've got years of experience behind you, overcoming and going through hard stuff. And so it's like, when somebody's like a 20, 21, 22-year-old consultant or coach, I'm like, do you really have the ability to help somebody? I mean, you can be book learned, which is good. I think it's good to have just general knowledge, but when it's life experience and you've experienced a lot of those ups and downs, and I do know some, 20-year-olds who've been through way more than I have, and could be really great. But I mean, like when you've got all of that experience behind you that you can build off of, like that's really valuable.
It's really valuable.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
So how long have you been coaching now? I mean, you said you'd coached for 3 years for a publisher, or was it an author? I can't remember.
it was
I
a, it was an author.
author, okay.
And I was coaching before that. So I was doing lifestyle and fitness coaching. And
Right.
even before I left the semiconductor company, I was coaching. I didn't realize that's what I was doing. But as I was starting to uh, develop and grow and move through my things, people would show up at my cubicle for advice. So
Oh,
I was already coaching people before I officially started a coaching business.
right.
So I officially started in like 2002 doing hypnosis and Reiki energy work. And then in 2004, I officially got my business license and
Nice.
up I went.
Wow. So you've been doing this for a long time. This is good. Um, yeah, like that the not just the life experience, but the experience in actually in the in the coaching, like helping other people and um like being a good coach is not just having your own life experiences, it's also having the experience of helping other people so that you can draw from their experiences to help future clients.
Exactly. And when I kind of sidelined it a little bit and took a job with a coaching company, I still had to, because I was doing business coaching, I still had to be actively running a business. So I was raising kids, running a business, working a full-time job,
And
and managing a marriage that was kind of in chaos. And so, yeah, a lot.
right, no kidding, man. So one of my favorite topics right now is mindset. Like it's been huge to me. I just barely recorded, so people when they get this episode and Annette, by the way, I forgot to let you know this, and for those who are listening, I am actually recording a whole bunch of episodes before I start having them go live because I want to have everything scheduled out so that if something happens, because this is what always happens, something happens and then I have to stop recording for a month or two and then I'm like, "Oh, my podcast exists. Oh my gosh, I forgot all about it." And so I'm batch recording. I'm doing a whole bunch of episodes, but the episode that I just barely recorded, so those who have listened to it, I talk about the year I just came out of, and it's one of the hardest years I've ever experienced, and I have experienced some doozies, and I'm just the like the mindset shift that I've been focusing on is what got me through what talking to friends who've been through similar or even just acquaintances, 2 years later they are at the point I was at when I was 6 months past my major rug pulling out from underneath me. And so I really believe mindset is such an important thing. And I mean, I also believe that when you're going through horrible things, like you have to allow yourself to experience those emotions because if you put them away, then you're going to have to deal with them later and it's going to be much, much worse later. But so my question for you is when you look back on your journey, what mindset shift made the biggest difference in your personal and business growth?
I think the biggest mindset shift I've had is not being a victim,
Oh,
that there's always a choice. There's always a choice. Even, I mean, I've gone through some really hard things in life, and it's so easy to feel victimized. But when you feel victimized, you're stuck in that
right,
victimization. And I think it's okay to feel like a victim or have, a pity party, but you don't want to, set up camp and plant your stakes and invite your friends and family, right?
right,
And it's hard when you're feeling that victimhood to not do that. So I think just being in that mindset that, okay, this happened to me, it really sucks. I didn't ask for this, I didn't want it, but I get to choose how I proceed. I get to
right,
choose my attitude. I get to choose, you know, um, forgiveness instead of blame.
right,
And that's a real challenge because we're human. I mean, it sucks when something happens to us. So just like 8 years ago, I was involved in a car accident. Somebody ran a red light, hit. I've had a whole lot of problems since then. One of those chronic migraines that I'm just now, after 8 years, getting some relief from
oh my,
with Botox injections. But it's really been a challenge to not feel victimized on those weeks where I just have uh, debilitating migraines every single day.
right,
But it's always that choice.
right,
And so I think that's the biggest thing that has got me through all of the challenges I've had is I could choose to be a victim, but then I'm limited in what I can do with that. But if I just have a little pity party, get it out of my system, then I could choose what I want to do next. So I have an exercise that I teach called the victory walk. And I'll go take a walk and I'll just, complain to the universe. I'll just let it all out, how I feel victimized. Then I'll stop, I'll turn around, walk back the other way, and talk to myself about what I want to experience instead.
Right. Yeah, my husband and I were on a walk this morning. We walk our goal is 5 miles a day. We don't usually reach it. It's usually we usually do like 3 miles in the morning and then we try to get in the other two throughout the rest of the day. But our walk this morning, we were talking about how the mindset community, affirmations and positive thinking, a lot of the time when the big leaders in it have something bad happen, some of them hide it and they don't talk openly about it because they don't want the people who follow them to be like, my world's falling apart because their world's falling apart. And
Right.
so for the people who are following them, when they have those horrible moments, like you said, this really sucks, that moment where you're just like everything is going to crap. And I have a happy mindset. I have a positive mindset. Why is everything going to crap? So when that happens to their followers, they feel like something is wrong with them because they're like, but so and so doesn't have this happen. So why is this affecting me? And we were talking this morning how important it is to actually name, not, we didn't use that actual word, but to name those negative emotions and to allow ourselves to experience them and to know that they're not going to stay forever, just to let them like when you're like in meditation, you allow those feelings to come and flow through you and you don't hold on to them. You just let them go past, right?
Right.
And how important that is and just allowing yourself to experience negativity and that it's not going to screw up your entire life. It's not going to make you not realize your goals and make you, just become a failure, because everybody's part of this human experience is experiencing negative emotions and learning how to manage them and learning that it's not going to be a permanent state of mind unless you allow it to. But I think most people, I know, I don't know. Do you know who John Deloney is?
No.
Okay, so he's like this really, really awesome. He's got a YouTube channel podcast where he talks about it. He's a therapist basically. And so he talks about how people can become addicted to negative emotions and they stay there because it's like a self-reinforcing thing. There is a side of us that likes feeling horrible about things. And so you can get addicted to being there, but for the most part, we don't actually want to feel bad. We don't want to feel horrible. And you have to reach a point in life um, where like you allow that victimhood, like you allow yourself to feel like this isn't my fault. And I truly am a victim in what happened. I did not cause what happened. I didn't bring it to myself by thinking negatively. I didn't bring it to myself by treating people poorly. It truly just sucks. And just being okay with feeling that, and then letting that feeling, go when it's ready to go, you know. Ugh,
Exactly. Exactly. And I think, first of all, leaders do a disservice to the people that follow them when they keep their problems at bay
right,
because we learn from other people. And I think when we know that our leaders are human and also have challenges and also have problems, I think that endears us to them more,
right, right,
that if they seem to be their life is perfect and then ours goes to crap, even though we were following their teachings
right,
really closely. So I've been there, done that. And
right,
then, two, I think another challenge we have is when things go to crap, we're trying to figure out why or what's the lesson. And sometimes there's a lesson and sometimes there isn't.
right,
Like my car accident, I was just in the wrong place at the wrong time. I don't know why it happened, why I had to experience that. Maybe I'll never know.
right,
But the more we focus on what's the lesson here, what do I need to learn? Why did I attract this? It kind of keeps us in that victim mode.
right, right. And
Asking
it
why.
makes it so that like it compounds it in our brains, makes it worse than what it really was, because then you start punishing yourself for not learning whatever lesson you're supposed to learn, you know?
Exactly. Exactly.
Right.
So
Right. And
it's
like
just
20
better
years,
just to say, what can I do from here forward? Now I've got this situation. What can I do differently? How can I move through this?
right.
how can I adapt my attitude so
Right.
I'm not so ornery and angry all the time because
Right.
I feel victimized.
Right, right. And some stuff happens and we don't find out why. Like you were saying, you might not never find out. And sometimes it's not 10, 20 years later and you're like, oh my goodness. Like I went through, I haven't ever shared this on my podcast before, but I was engaged when I was 19 and he broke up with me 3 weeks before we got married. And then my next fiance passed away while we were engaged. And I was like, why the heck? Why would I have to go through that? I didn't realize I mean, I learned obviously compassion for other people a lot because I'm a very type A, get it done type personality, and emotions are very foreign to me. I'm still learning that I have emotions, and I'm just very naturally just blinders on, get stuff done, and I didn't allow myself to feel emotions too often, because I'm just generally very even keeled. I don't go up and down a lot, but it taught me compassion for people who experience heartache, and deaths of people very very close to them, but also like my oldest is 13 now and she's I'm like, oh my gosh, I've got all of this experience that I can help her when she has her own heartaches, her own heartbreaks. Like there's nothing more valuable than personal experience to help other people through horrible experiences.
Exactly. Well, and there's the whole concept of the hero's journey. So you're called to adventure. Sometimes it's not necessarily a call and you want to go willingly. Sometimes you're just thrust into that. You go through the road of trials. You get the gift where, like you're talking about, compassion, and then you take that back into the world and teach other people what
Right.
you've learned, what you've come through, and how you navigated. So I think that's perfect for what you're talking about. Now you've got those tools to help your daughter through what she's going to go through as she grows up.
Right. And the hero's journey, I love that. If you stay in that victimhood and that it everything's out to get me, the universe hates me mentality, you can't become the hero of your own story. And
Exactly.
so the hero's journey is eventually you coming into your own power and you're taking basically you've been giving your power away. You're taking it back. You're becoming the hero of your story so that you can, it's about you and not about other people anymore, which, not in an egotistical way, but recognizing that you can choose a large portion of what happens to you in your life. Obviously, there is a significant portion you have no control over, but you can choose how you respond to it and how you move
Exactly.
forward, how you heal from it, and then how you help other people.
Exactly.
Right. That was fun.
Love that.
Right. All right. So, what is one habit you practice regularly, that most people underestimate, but has made a huge difference for you?
I would say the habit of gratitude and just writing every morning in a gratitude journal, no matter what has gone on, even if I'm just grateful for a hot cup of coffee, everything else sucks, but I have a hot cup of coffee in my hands. I have a blanket. I woke up this morning. And then sometimes I can expand into bigger things that I'm grateful for. But really, I just think writing down that every morning, starting my day with gratitude is probably one of the best habits that I've cultivated in my life because it just sets a tone for the day. If you wake up and you spend some time focusing on what you're grateful for, then you're more likely to manifest more things to be grateful for throughout the day. And even when that crappy situation comes along that you weren't prepared for, if afterwards you can just take a breath and just say, man, I'm grateful I was able to navigate through that.
Right.
It just
I'm
makes life so much easier.
right. I'm sitting here smiling. It's easy to say gratitude. I think I'm like, she's like my spirit animal or something. Because gratitude, man, yes, I love that so much. Like, and I do I write down every single morning, and sometimes it's not in the morning, sometimes it's because we have kids, we homeschool, and so we go for our walk, we come back, and if the house has exploded, I get to it a little bit later. But every single day, I write down three things I'm grateful for, and I try. Sometimes I do big things like my husband or our kids, but sometimes I'm like the blanket on my bed, just
Exactly.
like little things, big things. Like if I can't find gratitude or find reasons to be grateful in the small things, why am I going to have more small things, which all honestly do make me happy?
Right. And there's so many things that we take for granted that we don't ever, focus on gratitude. Indoor plumbing,
Right.
furnace, washer and dryer. I mean, stuff that makes our lives more convenient that we never think about with our gratitude. We're trying to think big picture, but
Right.
those little things that make our
Right.
life easier, make our life more convenient, or add convenience to our life, make it more pleasurable
Right.
to live. I mean, we're in winter. What if we didn't have indoor plumbing?
Right.
So just little things like that to be grateful for every day is so powerful.
Right. And like you were saying, like the big things. So like, maybe you didn't get a promotion at work and so therefore your whole life is crap, right? I mean, how can you be grateful or how can you be receiving the big things when you're not accepting the small things that are being offered to you? And I believe that gratitude is a way to accept that you have those blessings in your life, you know?
Right. And something like that happens to you, like you were expecting a promotion, you didn't get it. You can still be grateful and say, wow, I'm grateful that something bigger and better is coming my way
Right. Right. Yep.
instead of focusing on what you didn't get.
Right. Right. Because, like, I mean, if your hand is too tightly closed around the things that you have, you aren't able to accept more in and you're not able to give more. And I believe like gratitude and generosity go hand in hand, and being able to be grateful for what you have and grateful for what you're able to help other people with allows you to receive more, you know?
Exactly. Is that give and take and being grateful. That's the biggest. Grateful and intention. Setting an
Right.
intention for the day. And my
Right.
intention is never something that I need to do. It's who I want to be. So I'm going to be joy today. I'm going to be sunshine. I'm going to be grateful. I'm going to, you know, so I like to set the tone for my day with an intention.
Right. Okay, so a follow-up question on that. If what would you say or what would you tell somebody who is like I'm thinking of a couple specific people who have anxiety that's so high that they can't leave their house. They can't they can't interact with other people. And so they're like their depression, their discouragement, their anxiety is so bad that they don't see joy in things. They struggle with seeing gratitude. Like where would you tell them to start when it comes to setting an intention, when it comes to like the very, very small steps that people can take?
I would say maybe an intention to uh, breathe. I worked with a gal who had such high anxiety and panic attacks that she couldn't leave her house, couldn't go to the grocery store. She finally was able to come into my office. And I worked with her on teaching her how to do yogic breathing, three-part breathing, and releasing that. And then I did Reiki and hypnosis, but it was really the breathing that moved her through some of that panic because when you have high anxiety, you're not breathing. And
Right,
so maybe just that intention is to notice my breath for the
right,
day, notice
right,
how I'm breathing, learn how to breathe better to
right,
release the anxiety. I would start with, I'm going to be the breath today
right, right,
and I'm going to learn how to deep breathe. And so that's more of a doing, but sometimes you've got to do some doing to get to the being state
right,
that
right,
you want to be in. And even if you have high anxiety, can you be something different that day? Can you choose to be something outside of your anxiety? Can you
right,
choose to be in gratitude
right.
outside of anxiety?
So I want to, let's see, you mentioned something. I've got it. I'm looking up a book inside of my on my phone. It's called Audacious Joy, and it's by Nicole. Gosh, what's her last name? Kernahan. And it's called Audacious Joy, and she likes affirmations, right? And I like affirmations too, but she says that sometimes you're in such a like your place is so not where you want it to be that if you say like somebody who loves mornings, let's see if I can find one in here that she talks about mornings with. She's like um getting up in the morning is impossible. They want and but they want to be able to wake up with joy and gratitude for the day, but it's so far from how they are. And so she's like she talks about progressive affirmation. So she's like like a very, very small step could be up until now, I've had a hard time with mornings. And today I'm choosing to start the day with more energy. Instead of saying, I love mornings as your affirmation, you start with something that's acknowledges how hard it has been, but then a little, but steps it up just a tiny bit. And then the next one after that would be, I'm becoming someone who enjoys mornings. And then the last one would be, I love mornings. And I really like that. And my husband and I were talking about that because we're reading the book together right now. And we both like we appreciate that it's okay to acknowledge that you're not where you want to be in your affirmation that helps you get to where you want to be. And so setting your intention with breathing, that's like a very small step, but you have to start somewhere, right?
Right, right. And I like that step up in affirmations because there's so many times that we say this affirmation of what we truly want to experience, and it is so far from where we are that our mind just, in the back of our mind, we're going, yeah, right.
Right? It nopes out. It's like, oh, that's sarcasm.
Yeah, yeah. And so I like that. There's also a guy, his name is Noah St. John. He wrote a book called Affirmations, and it's all about asking that question. So instead of, I love mornings when you really don't, just saying, why do I love mornings?
Oh, yes, I
Mm,
love that.
Yeah, then your unconscious mind wants to answer that question. So it
Right.
starts searching for the answer to that question. So you're not giving it a false statement, you're
Right.
asking a question and having it search for the answer.
Okay, who was that? I'm writing that down. Who was it you said?
Noah St. John.
Noah St. John. Is that in a book or is that just something that he says like in a
Yeah,
podcast or
he
something?
he has a book called I can't remember what it's called. It's about success, but he talks about affirmations. I actually was introduced to him through Jack Canfield and T. Harv Eker because I done a lot of study with both of them, and that's where I learned about him from. And I met him, and he's an awesome guy. But yeah, affirmations instead of
Affirmations.
affirmations.
I love that. I'm gonna look that up because like that's another thing that my husband and we are both doing a lot of like mindset work right now, doing and together, doing a lot of things together, and we've talked about that a lot too. Like is there a gentler way to help your subconscious accept where you want to be instead of it being, yeah, like that's gonna happen, because that does happen. You set a goal and it's like one that you really truly want, but you've got to be able to truly convince yourself deep, not just in, your head, like logical thinking, but in your heart that it's where you want to be without it rejecting the idea right, immediately.
Exactly. So if you're affirming that I am attracting $1 million in the back of your head, you've never done that before, and your back of your head is going, yeah, that's never going to happen. But if you said, you know, why am I attracting $1 million to me? Or how is it that I am attracting $1 million to me? Then your unconscious mind can find things like, well, you're doing the work, you're putting your programs out there, whatever that is.
Right,
And so then it starts answering that question and it's almost like a self-affirmation that you are doing what it takes to attract what you truly want.
right. No, I absolutely love that. That's really, really great. Okay, all right. So we're gonna kind of talk a little bit about business. If you could sit across from someone who wants to open a business, but is afraid to start, what would you tell them to focus on before doing anything else?
I would tell them to focus on making sure that they have plenty of money to back them up because it's, a lot of people think that I'm going to start a business, I'm going to make money, I'm going to have freedom. Business is not for the faint of heart.
No.
Just being an entrepreneur is not for the faint of heart. So you better make sure that you've got something to back you up when you make the jump. But
Right,
then it's also getting down to that big why. Why do I want to jump in?
right,
Because if you don't have a big why, then that fear is going to be there. If you've got
right,
a big why, you're going to be excited to jump. You're going to want to jump. Nothing's going to stop you from
right,
jumping because you have that big why that just resonates so deep in your soul that you know that your life will never be complete if you don't try this, if you
Right.
don't jump in and do that.
Right. I love that. The why. Is it Simon Sinek or whatever who has the Start with Why or whatever his book?
I don't know. I've heard some of his stuff, but I've been teaching your big why for 20
Very
something
long
years
time.
before I ever heard of him
Right?
because it's such a universal concept.
Right.
You know, when you set a goal, what's your big why? Why do you want to achieve it? Because if it's
Right.
just a goal without that passion or that deep reason why you want to achieve it, then there's not that motivation
Right.
or inspiration
Right.
to get there.
Right. And like I love the idea of listening, like paying attention to your intuition. And if you have a big enough why that your intuition is constantly feeding you with ideas, even when bad things happen, it's because of the why. Like if your why is big enough, then your whole everything is working and is focused on that. Like your intention, all of it is going towards your why. And if your why is not big enough, you'll find excuses when things, even when they don't even get hard, just like I'm just not in the mood, you know? I mean, if your why is big enough and you're passionate enough about it, then you will make things work, you know?
Exactly. And I would also suggest to get a mentor. Find
Yeah.
someone that has started their own business and talk to them because they may help you through some of those fears. You may not be ready to hire a business coach yet, but just being able to talk to people in the entrepreneurial space
Right.
can help you. Um, and then always have a plan. You've got to
Right.
start with a plan.
Right. 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 And these aren't like I'm gonna say like I in the mindset world, the positive thinking world, they're like, you don't need to have all these things. You don't need to have money. You don't that kind of stuff will come. But I mean, it's if you don't have an idea of where you're jumping to, if you don't have um like this gosh, what am I trying to say? You have to have the knowledge in this business field. That's part of having a plan. Like if you don't actually know how to do what you're going to be doing, unless you plan on having other people do it for you and you figure out how to, influence somebody to do it for you, you're not going to succeed for very long. And I actually did want to ask you about that. Like, so one of the things that I try to be very open with my listeners on is I'm a former six-figure author. I've got over 85 books published and I've made a lot of money on those books, but I'm currently not making money on my books. I'm only making about $150 a month, which, with over 85 books published, this is something that people don't know a lot about publishing is it goes like this. Like it is, there's very high highs sometimes and there's very, very low lows. And people, the authors that everybody looks at and is like, oh my gosh, you're amazing. They talk about those highs, but they very rarely talk about the lows. And I'm trying to make sure that because a lot of my followers are authors, I want them to know it that those lows do happen. And as you as a coach, when an inevitable low comes, how do you help your clients know that it's not the end of the world and it does not necessarily mean that your goal and your dream was bad? It just means that you have to do what? Like how do you help them get through those times?
A lot of it's just asking them power questions and then helping them revamp their plan because sometimes, when it comes to business, markets change, customer attitudes change so rapidly that you've got to be able to pivot quickly.
Right,
And so when things are at a low, sometimes it's just asking those power questions. Where do you
right,
need to pivot? What
right,
do you need to do differently? Who do are you reaching your ideal market? If not, where are they now? Where do you need to go? So a lot of that is just asking them powerful questions. And then I'm not the kind of coach that just asks questions and let you come up with things. I'm an advisor. Sometimes I tell you what to do. But first, you've got to get them in that place where they can see that sometimes we get stuck in the status quo. We keep doing the same thing over and over and over again, but we got to shift because the
right,
market shifted.
right,
So it's
right,
really about just asking them questions and finding out, where it is that they're stuck, that they
right,
can't move forward. Because usually there's a sticking place that
right.
we have.
Right. And like in like business terms, like which part of the funnel is broken? You've got the wide marketing down to the cells when you're marketing, if there's something broken along the line down to when somebody makes a purchase from you, you're not going to know it unless you start looking at each individual step where, you're not going to know where people are falling off. And so like in the in the example with my books, when I released my books, I started publishing in 2011. And they back then it was like the wild wild west, right? And
Exactly.
I made most of my money in 2016, 17, and 18. And at that time, independent authors, I'm an independent author. I was with a publisher and I was like, I can market better than you. So I left them because marketing is my passion. Um, back then, if you were good at marketing or if you had a well-written book, it was relatively easy to make money. And I know there was a lot of authors back then who really, really struggled, but um, if you could market and if you could write a good book, you could make money. But and business and sorry, authors back then, they weren't super business savvy. But now in 2025, we're actually in 2026 now. Happy New Year, by the way. um, business authors, business authors who are serious about their businesses are the ones that make money. They're the ones that really fine tune the fine details that we didn't have to fine tune in the past. And so a book that's good is no longer good enough. And so
Right.
all of my books, I'm having them get re-edited. And because and it's not just the authors are better, the authors are more competitive with their business sense. It's also readers are pickier because they can afford to be pickier. There's a lot of books to pick from. And if your book does not hit exactly right when it comes to every single area, then they don't have a reason to buy. They can go somewhere else. And my books I've always taken very, very good care with them with the book covers, the descriptions, the price point, the number of reviews, and where the reviews come from, and then the content itself. But I have to step up. Even me, who has taught across the country how to successfully publish, I have to step up my game so that I can be more competitive still. And part of that is like some people, they're like their why is just not strong enough, and they don't have the motivation to do that kind of work. And so at that point, I'm like, well, what do you really want to do with your life? If you're not willing to find out which part of the process is stopping people from buying, where do you really want to go? You know?
Right. Well, and I think motivation is an outer force that, we were looking for somebody to motivate us or something out there to motivate us. And so I think it's all about inspiration, which brings you back to your big why. Your big why really drives that inspiration.
Right,
And it's really that when the going gets tough, your big why and that inspiration, which is inside of you, is what gets you through those tough times.
right,
And I think a lot of people don't learn how to market. They don't learn how to put themselves out there. And it's kind of like, and I was like this when I first started my business back in 2002. I left the semiconductor company with this dream, and it was kind of like the field of dreams. If I build it, they will come. And then when I shifted from fitness coaching and lifestyle coaching to more business coaching, it was like, oh, you know what? Everybody's going to shift with me. It's like I had to rebuild from there because everybody still was calling me a life coach and a fitness coach. And it's like, no, for the past 2 years, 3 years, I've been doing business coaching,
right,
but trying to get them to shift their mind. So I think it's constantly pursuing excellence. We've
right,
constantly got to be upping our game, as you were talking about. We can't just be satisfied with what we were doing yesterday.
right,
That's not going to work.
right, right. And what role do you believe focus plays? Like focus on a specific thing versus doing multiple things. What role do you believe that plays?
Well, I think if as an entrepreneur, it's really hard to focus on just one thing
Yeah,
because you have so many irons in the fire. But I think being able to focus on one thing for an hour and get, a certain period of time that you're focused on getting one thing done,
right,
I think that's very powerful
right,
because, in the corporate world, it's all about can you multitask? But when your brain can only focus on one thing at a time.
right,
And so if you've got too many things going on, you're really not effective in any one of them,
right,
really. And so it really is about being able to focus on what's right in front of you, I think is very powerful. And setting aside, you know, say you're writing a book, you've got to set aside some time that's the only thing you're focused on. You've
Right.
turned off your phone, you've got your computer shut down, every other window shut down so that you're focused right on that. And if you have to tell people, I'm unavailable for the next hour, do that because you've got to be able to focus on certain things in order to get it done.
Right.
But as an entrepreneur, that can be challenging.
Right.
As a
Yeah.
parent, that can be challenging.
Right. Right. And I
As a
think,
caregiver, it can be challenging.
right. I think I can't remember if it was Alex Hormozy. I don't know. Do you know who Alex Hormozy is?
Um, Alex, I know Alex Mantosian, but no.
Yeah, Alex Hormozy is one of those really big, sensational business owners, multimillionaire, and has millions of followers. He's like really big in the go out and do it field. You know, he owns gyms across the world. Anyway, I think I'm pretty sure it's him that talks about this, how when you're focus on the one thing that you want to be successful at until you're successful at it before expanding your business. And I'm gonna like one of my sad stories from back when I used to do business consulting. And one of my clients, like I could not get him to focus on just one thing. He was like, well, I can make more money if I do this. I'm like, not if you're not making money in your core business. Like your core offering needs to be successful before you increase your core offering. And he's like, no, but I'll make more money if I add this. He never got to the point where his core offering was making money. And so like he ended up like, ah, gosh, we parted ways. And he's like opened 4 or 5 different businesses, and now he finally got a job working for a company again, which I know just broke his heart because he wanted, but I couldn't get him to focus on that one thing until it's successful. He just kept putting more pans in the fire, more pans in the fire. I'm like, you're not gonna succeed that way. Like you need to be able to make the one thing that you're truly passionate about successful before you try to enhance it and try to make it better, you know?
Exactly, exactly. And I coach a lot of people, you know, other coaches, they want to write a book and stuff. And it's like, great, but what's your fastest path to cash? What's going to bring in that revenue first? It's not a book.
No, it's not a
Not
book.
a book. Revenue. A book is a long-term strategy.
Yep.
What's your short-term strategy to start bringing revenue into your business right now?
Right.
Focus on that. Then you can start adding more to it and be writing a book in the background on your spare time, but don't make the book your revenue stream because it's not going to happen. And when you
Right.
do get the book, it's not necessarily going to happen. You might have to go out and speak. You're going to have to be out
Right.
marketing. You're going to have to be doing other things to make that book a success.
Right.
And it's not a fast path to cash.
Right. No, and even that book may never make money because especially if it's your first book, people don't usually come into their own voice when it comes to writing until they've got 5 books published, six, 10 even, and when people come to me and they're like, I want to make a lot of money on this one book, I'm like, well, it is possible. I can't tell you it's not possible because people do, but my first thought is, oh, you sweet summer child. Like, like you're going to have to do a lot of work in order to, it is possible, but you're going to have to learn a lot. You're going to have to learn what do people want in a book? What do they expect when they look at your book to get in the book? What kind of cover are they expecting? What kind of, and even the formatting makes a difference. How you format
Right.
the book can make people not want to keep reading or make them want to keep reading. And so I'm like, you're going to have to learn a lot. And if you are in a position where you really need money, a book can make a lot of money, but do you have the time to learn, to do the ropes, to make sure that you are, that you can actually make money on that book? And if not, it's got to be a back burner thing. And when people like the number one thing people when they find out I'm a writer is like, oh, I want to write a book. And I'm like, yeah, but are you gonna? Most people say I'm going to write a book and then they never do. They're like, because they don't prioritize it. And so if writing a book, if you need to do it for money, don't, because it's not going to happen right off the bat. But if your business is successful and you want to write a book and I mean, most people plan to, but they never do. And so I'm like, you have to prioritize it because then once it's written, then you can learn and you can like learn how to make it better and you can actually make that book be what you want it to be, but not if you aren't willing to put in the time. And
Right.
I mean, if you're in a position where you can put in the time and you don't need the money right away, then put as I mean, the faster you work on it, the harder you work on it, the more, the better the book will be faster.
Right. And I think for most of my clients, it's more they want that credibility piece,
Right.
but it's just not your fastest stream to income.
No, no.
It can enhance it later. I mean, I have a published book that's a best-selling book. It's a co-authored, it's a anthology book.
Right.
And it's just a credibility piece. It's something
Right.
that I use for marketing and
Right.
for speaking events and things like that. And I'm writing another book. I've been writing up for a long time because it's not a high priority to me to
Right.
get that book done
Right. And I love
because
that
it's
you
not
acknowledge
my
that.
revenue stream.
Right. Right. And like acknowledging, like, because one of the most frustrating things when I've worked with clients who are working on books is they blame everything around them. They're like, I'm not writing because of this. I'm not writing because of this. If this hadn't happened, I wouldn't be writing. I'm like, okay, so my listeners know that I had mastitis for a year and a half, and it was excruciatingly painful. Absolutely. I was in the hospital 6 times. I had 4 emergency surgeries, an ambulance trip, 12 rounds of antibiotics, and it was horrible. And I wrote like 8 or 9 books during that 8 year and a half. And I'm like, you can't tell me that life happened to you and you didn't prioritize. Like, I'm like, it is your choice to make it your intention, your priority, what, like if it's that number one priority. And so like when my clients are like, well, I wasn't feeling good. I didn't have time. I'm like, you need to be honest and recognize that maybe there's a conflict with what you truly want. And like maybe writing a book isn't what you truly want at this time. Maybe you want it eventually, but recognizing, like, give yourself the freedom to say, I want to do it, but it's not my priority right now, because that will actually allow you to finish what is your priority faster. So you're not like dragging your brain through the dirt all the time?
And we make time for what's important to us.
Yeah.
I
Yep.
mean, it really is that way. And we can say we're busy and life gets in the way all we want, but your furnace breaks down. That's important. You're going to make time to make sure that gets fixed. Your car breaks
Right.
down, run out of gas, you're going to make time. And so it's just really comes back to that big why as to,
Right.
why is this goal important to me?
Right. Right.
And is it a top priority? Is it where I want to spend my time?
Right.
Is it the best time place for me to spend my time right now?
Right. Right. I love that. I'm just laughing because I'm like, we kind of tangented a little bit there. Like, hey, we're both like, it's yada yada. Yeah. I love. Okay, so my next question is, and we are about out of time here, so I'm gonna see if, let's see. Okay, I actually want to skip a couple questions because this one right here is calling to me a little bit more than the other ones. So, okay, so when I've reached out to business owners and I've talked to them about topics that I'm interested in, like discussing in interviews, you mentioned laws of success. And I would love to hear your thoughts on the laws of success. So, like, what are they to you, and how can someone become more successful?
Well, I think the laws of success are, first of all, you've got to study with other people and find out what has helped them become successful.
Right,
Because, or read those books that talk about the steps to become successful. And you're going to find the steps that resonate with you the most because their steps to success aren't going to be your steps to success, but you're
right,
going to learn what is going to work for you.
right.
But there's like some general steps to success. So if you read anything, um, my mind just went blank on the author, uh,
There's like
but
Atomic Habits.
Atomic Habits, Jack Canfield has a book on success, which is one of my favorites, and it was written years ago. But those basic laws of success don't change over time.
Right,
Set your goals, find your big why, put together a plan, smart goals, make sure that they're, time bound, that you've got an end point. So those basic laws of success aren't going to change. So you've got to learn them.
right,
And they're all of them are not coming to you. We've been talking about so many things. It's like I'm like going, okay, what are they? But
right,
it really is about studying others who are successful
right.
and learning what steps they took and what those basic laws of success are.
Right. And I would say it's possibly even, I mean, you're going to glean from people who are successful in any field. I believe it's important to learn from people who aren't just in your field, but also people who are in your field. Like the people that are ahead of you, what did they do to get there? And your path will be different, but like you said, something's going to resonate with you. Or maybe they do something that you're like, that would never work for you, but the opposite resonates with you. And you wouldn't have thought of the opposite until you talked to that person.
Exactly, exactly. And we think that people are want to hold things close to the vest
Yeah.
on their success, but that's not true. Entrepreneurs love to share their
How they got where they
how
got.
they got there, and they
Right.
want to see other people be successful. And if you run into a stingy entrepreneur, next, just move on, find somebody
Right.
else that can mentor you and guide you,
Right.
and find those books that resonate with you. I mean, I picked up a dozen books on success, and I might read a little bit of it and go, not capturing my attention. And then others I devour, and then I
Right.
reread, and I reread, and I reread. There's a book called the Three Laws of Performance,
Mm-hmm.
and I've read that book so many times and have it highlighted in so many different colors and flagged in so many different places. It's it's like my success Bible.
Right.
And and it's talking more about big corporate
Right.
businesses more
Right.
so than entrepreneurs,
Right.
but just the methodology is kind of based on landmark trainings, and it just so resonated with me that I use that when I'm coaching and training. I use the philosophies in that book when I'm structuring those trainings as well.
Right. Right. Yeah, I just wrote that title down. I'm excited. I've got two books I'm gonna be looking up. The Noah St. John one and Three Laws of Performance.
Yeah, yeah, they're really good books, and for sure check those out.
Right. Thank you so much for joining me. Like this has been a lot of fun. That was a fun
You're
discussion.
welcome. It was a lot of fun discussion. I was under the impression, I guess I thought we were going to talk about more about New Year goals, but
Oh, no, well, I mean,
I love where this went.
New Year
It's
goals,
right
I
up
didn't
my
even think
alley.
about that. Maybe, I mean, yeah, I love goals. I love mindsets and I love, especially 2026. Like it's going to be like a great year, but you have to have the intention of making a great year. You have to do something to change how like my past years I'm like, "Oh, this is going to be a great year," but did I do anything different? Not really. And so this year I'm focusing on doing things different because you're going to get the same results if you do the things the same, right?
Right. And, just as an ending thought, in the study of numerology, 2026 is a 1 year in numerology, which is all about new beginnings. You finished the 9 cycle, which was last year, wrapping up lessons, and now it's all about new beginnings. So really stop and think about, what do I want to have happen in my life for the next 9 years? Where do I want to go? What do I want to change? How
Right.
do I want to grow and develop in my personal life, in my business life, in my professional life? And what do I need to change about what I've done in the last 9 years in order to shift and make that happen over the next 9 years?
Right. I love that.
I
I love
love
that approach.
numerology.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Okay, so if people want to work with you, where can they find you? Where can they find your book right now? And you're still working on the second one, right?
Yeah, I'm still Korean. So they can find my book on Amazon. And then they can also find it on my website at AnnettePieper.com, Pieper, or visiontorealitytraining.com. Either will lead you there. You can find me on Facebook. I haven't been as active on Instagram the last little bit, but usually through my website, you can find me on Facebook, Annette the Badass Business Chick.
So
Yeah.
great.
So you'll find me there.
Mhm.
And yeah, my book's on Amazon. Step into your vision.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining me. I really
You're
appreciate
welcome.
it.
Thank you, Andrea. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah. All right, everybody listening, thank you so much for watching and for listening. Hit the like and the subscribe button. Comment below if you have questions for Annette, and I will let her know when the episode has gone live in case people do have questions for her. And that's so it's and thank you guys every much, so much for listening. Okay, we'll talk to y'all later. Bye.